This is definitely my favorite upgrade I've made to this entire miter saw station. The funny thing is, I actually love this tool. The problem is, I hate getting it out. Anytime I want to use the sander, I have to move a bunch of stuff out of the way. Carry this big, heavy machine over to my bench, plug it in, and then clamp it down before I can even start sanding. And that's a lot of setup for a tool that I'm supposed to be using to make my life easier. A few years ago, I actually built a flip-top cart for it, which seemed like a great solution at the time, but ended up taking way too much valuable floor space. I started thinking, what if I could give the sander a permanent home? And better yet, what if I could hide it inside one of the cabinets in my miter saw station, but still have it ready to use in seconds? And that's exactly what I decided to build.
So I was recently at my local sheet goods store while I was waiting for plywood to come out. I was going through the showroom and I saw these appliance lifters that they install for kitchens and that kind of stuff, but I couldn't stop thinking about how I could incorporate this into my shop. All right, so because I have the face frame here, I'm getting ready to install my blocks to make this flush, but I want to know where I want to mount it. According to the instructions, they say you should go 4.5 inches down from the top. But if you look into that more, why is it 4.5 inches? Well, it's basing it off of a 6-quart KitchenAid mixer, because again, this is for a mixer. So if we look up a 6-quart KitchenAid mixer, the height is 16.5 inches, roughly. So I figure by measuring my sander, it's about 19 inches. So to be safe, I'm gonna add 3 inches to this. So I'm gonna, instead of 4.5 inches down, I'm gonna come 7.5 inches down. And you'll see shortly here if that measurement works out. So we want our first screw to be 3/8 back from the face frame. So that's going to be 1 1/8. And then our second screw is going to be 11 3/8 back from our back of our face frame. So that'll be 12 1/8. All right, so one of the first things I've noticed now that I got it on there is I thought the doors might not fit, and I think I came up with a pretty easy and quick solution. So the problem is not the top, it's the bottom. And it's because where I had this cup for the door hinge is gonna rub against this. So I think the easiest solution is I'm just gonna move that door hinge up by like 2 or 3 inches. It won't affect the door at all. And it'll then clear this, and that'll be a quick, simple solution. I'll have to plug that original hole, but it's on the inside of a shop door. Who's gonna see that? Problem solved. On to the next. All right, now that we know that these doors are working properly with the lift, I'm gonna take them back off for camera purposes so we can see inside of here. And then I'm gonna start measuring and deciding what I wanna use for the shelf. All right, so we're gonna have to look for some scrap. This is all my hardwood scrap. Plywood scraps are on the back. I think we're just gonna do a plywood shelf here, so let me get to that. The heavier this thing gets, the harder it is to move. I mean, this is white oak plywood, but it's probably the exact size I need. Left over from another project. I'll probably just use this. Everything's a dance in a small shop. All right, so we need a piece of plywood according to the instructions that is 20.5 inches long. And then our width was 15 3/4. I'm gonna make it 15.5. That will give me an 1/8 inch on each side to put some hardwood banding on it, which I usually do maple for this, but I guess I'll do white oak for this. So I cut this with a track saw, so I know this is a good straight edge. Also, another tip, especially on this veneered plywood, use some blue painter's tape. It really helps minimize the checking that comes out with the cut. This stuff can really splinter and check, and it makes the cut look really terrible. So use the blue tape, really solves that problem. Super clean. In times like this is why you never throw any scraps away. In fact, I just built another scrap bin to attach to my gigantic scrap bin, but just for times like this, where right now I'm looking for some edge banding. Is that red oak or white oak? That's red oak. This is white oak. I think we'll just clean this up because this is long enough to cover the sides, I believe. So we'll clean this up. Don't throw anything away. All right, so I want this edge banding to finish at 1/8 of an inch. So I'm gonna cut it. I don't trust my cutting or my bandsaw perfectly, so I'm gonna cut it 3/16. This way I can take it over to the drum sander and dial it in perfect. All right, now that I've milled down my white oak edge banding, I'm gonna glue it up. Since I have these oversized, this is more than 3/4 of an inch, I want it to be oversized on both sides, and then I'll come back and flush trim it with a router. I'm using these like clamping blocks to just lift it up a little bit. And that's it. Let's glue it up. I'll let this dry for 30 minutes. Come back, flush trim these edges, then glue on the long edges and then let that dry. All right, this is the actual first test, so hopefully I cut it to the right size. It's a little aggressive, huh? I know they make like a slow closing dampening system, but this is for the shop. I cannot imagine installing that out here. This is probably overkill enough, but you know, I had a coupon. I don't know if you could see back there, but it's actually dinging the back of the plywood. Only on the left side, which means something's not square. God, who built these cabinets? Am I right? Oh, that's me.
Before moving on, I had to check the fit, and boy was it tight. The sander just barely squeezed past the arms of the hardware. Not too shabby, especially considering I was retrofitting all of this after the fact. I removed the shelf one last time, used a router to give it a soft round over, and then I applied 4 coats of poly for some added protection. Here's a quick tip I want to share. When drilling holes like this with a Forstner bit, start from one side and drill until the center point breaks through. Then from the opposite side, use that pilot hole to line up your bit and then finish the cut the opposite way. This is going to help prevent tear out and leave you with a much cleaner hole.
I want to add a few clips here so I can tack this cord up and out of the way so it won't be in the way of the lift arm. All right, next up I was thinking I can create some storage space because this sander has a ton of different attachments and sanding belts for each one. So I think I came up with a pretty good idea to use for some extra storage space, even though the sander takes up the majority of this cabinet. Let me show you. So when I built these cabinets, I didn't put a floor in all of them, partially because at the time I didn't know which set was gonna get, you know, drawers down there, which were gonna be doors, and partially I think because I didn't have enough plywood. But I think what I'm gonna do is come down here and in the actual toe kick, I'm gonna utilize that for storage. I think I might put some sort of wood barrier down, maybe like a piece of plywood or something, that 1/4 inch plywood, so I'm not using a lot of space up. Cut it to fit, and this way no moisture or any kind of like that coming up from the concrete will get onto my sanding pads. But I think that's gonna be a great utilization of the space. All right, here's where I'm currently storing all of my sanding accoutrement. Takes up a lot of space. So let's see if we can cram that in down there. All right, so one of the last things I want to do is I need to find a place to hang this dust attachment. If I leave it on the machine, it's a little bit too wide for me to be able to pull it in and out without it getting snagged up. So I'm going to create a little holder out of this dowel. I'm going to find whatever diameter this is, get a drill bit, drill it into the side here, and it should hold this in place until I need it and not be in the way when I pull out the sander. Let's do that. Check that one off the list too. So underneath my miter saw here, I have something called an auto switch. And basically what that does is every time I turn on my miter saw to make a cut, it automatically kicks on the shop vac. And then it stays on for an extra 15 seconds. So since I'm going to be using the same shop vac and dust collection setup for the sander, I went and picked up one of these cheap 3-way prongs, and all that did was extend it. So now every time I turn on the sander, the shop vac will kick on, and every time I turn on the miter saw, the shop vac will kick on, and there'll be nothing I need to switch between them. It'll automatically do it. And when it's easy, that means you use it.
And that's really what this whole upgrade was about. I didn't need another place to store a tool. I needed a way to make this tool easier to use. Now, instead of moving half my shop around just to get to the spindle sander, I can pull it out, hook up the dust collection, and get to work in seconds. It's completely out of the way when I don't need it, and ready at my fingertips when I do. And for a small shop, that's exactly the kind of upgrade I was looking for.